Now, your ideas of space are highly erroneous. Space, as you perceive it, simply does not exist. Not only is the illusion of space caused by your own physical perceptive mechanisms, but it is also caused by mental patterns that you have accepted. Patterns that are adopted by consciousness when it reaches a certain stage of evolution within your system. When you arrive or emerge into physical life, not only is your mind not a blank slate waiting for the scrolls that experience will write upon it, but you are already equipped with a memory bank far surpassing that of any computer. You face your first day upon the planet with skills and abilities already built in, though they may or may not be used, and you are not merely the result of heredity as you think of it. You may think of your soul or entity, though only briefly and for the sake of this analogy, as some conscious and living divinely inspired computer who programs its own existences and lifetimes. But this computer is so highly endowed with creativity that each of the various personalities it programs spring into consciousness and song, and in turn create realities that may have been undreamed of by the computer itself. Within the personality, however, in the most secret recesses is the condensed knowledge that resides in the computer as a whole. I must emphasize that I'm not saying that the soul or entity is a computer, but only asking you to look at the matter in this light in order to make several points clear. I mention this whole subject here, however, because I want you to see that your environment is not real in the terms that you imagine it to be. In a very real way of speaking, your concept of reality, as seen through your physical senses, scientific instruments, or arrived at through deduction, bears little resemblance to the facts, and the facts are difficult to explain. Space and time, for example, are root assumptions.
I'm Simon Haiduk. What you just watched was a time-lapse of a digital painting turned into an animation of my artwork, Tasha Treeheart. It was created as a devotional prayer to my twin sister Tasha and her healing process. That's her, and the other trees represent our family members, surrounded by our angelic guides. I showed that because the most common questions I get asked are what inspires you and how do you do that? So this presentation is a little peek into my inspiration and process. It starts with my intention to express gratitude for the beauty of this world. My main inspiration comes from nature. And there are many layers to nature, more than we typically perceive. Here, I'm talking about metaphysics, or as I also like to call it, the science. Modern science tells us that we only see 0.035% of the known light spectrum, and that everything is 99.9% space. In the electric universe model, everything is connected through plasma energy. It can also be said that the foundations of the universe are vibrations of light and sound. All of these have degrees of truth. Once we recognize that all matter is actually energy, we can begin to form a new vision of ourselves in the world around us. We begin to realize that our surroundings are not always what they seem. So what does the framework of this visible light or form of our known universe look like? Here's a scientific diagram showing that framework. Here's another one, and the next one is a magnification of brain neurons. Perhaps you can notice some of the similarities and make the connection. The next one is the root structure of mushrooms, also known as mycelium. Mycelium, the roots of fungi, typically reside in the forest floor. They often work symbiotically with other plants to send nutrients and information. Life is interconnected. Another example of this unifying energy can be seen in the way a school of fish or flock of birds move together, synchronized as though they are one mind. Now, something that always blows my mind when I think of it is how the tallest trees on Earth grow from a microscopic seed. This invisible seed is in the ground with enough information to start building a tree. Then when it comes through the ground, it starts gathering nutrients from the sunlight, air, and other factors, and over time it becomes this magnificent tree, which is then often home to many other creatures. But where was the information to grow this magnificent tree? Did it exist entirely in the microscopic seed, or is it in the nutrients and energy of all things combined? This could be said to be true about humans and really all forms of life that have growth stages. Now, we know through the use of Wi-Fi and radio technologies, there's information around us all the time. It immediately converts to videos, music, text messages, etc. upon your command to access it through your devices. For example, audio streams into the receptor on your device, and then it is invisibly relayed to a Bluetooth speaker. Then the speaker pushes airwaves out, also invisible. Then your eardrums sense it, and your brain interprets it, and then you experience it as music. And you have a sensation, both emotional and physical. But where does this information live? This is something I'm curious about exploring with my art. Is there a kind of Wi-Fi in nature that we've forgotten how to tap into consciously? Something, perhaps, that allows for more harmony between the Earth and its shared inhabitants. And if we could see it, what would it look like? Now, it's not just Wi-Fi and radio frequencies, but sound is also an energy that we experience, typically invisible. Yet, we can capture images of sound when it is sent into materials. This is called cymatics. It is the visual representation of sound. These are photos of sound frequencies in transparent plates of water. These next ones are sound frequencies sent into sand filaments. Notice the intricacies of these. It implies to me that these represent patterns within the interwoven tapestry of how matter is formed. It is alive and ever-changing. Something else that I have a strong interest with is sound therapy. How sound or other frequencies can be sent into the body so it can find coherence for a more natural state of healing. I've also played various instruments throughout my life. I've made music almost as long as visual art. So to me it comes naturally to create visual representations of sound within my art and connect my music to visuals. For example, here, what does a sonic landscape look like? Or here, what does the energy look like around plants? And what does it look like with human interaction? I feel that nature is a bridge that unifies people beyond our constructed ideologies. Even people in cities have parks, pets, and plants because we need this natural connection. It's apparent that animals have extrasensory capabilities that we don't fully understand. Pets can seem psychic and often reflect the emotions of their owners. Maybe you've experienced this. Many cultures around the world, ancient and modern, have myths of animals as deities. Something I learned while traveling in Egypt is that another word for gods or deities is netters, which also translates to the word nature. So I find it interesting that many of the highest beings in their mythology represent aspects of nature and sometimes have animal heads or hybrid features. It's also clear that they had an extraordinary comprehension of geometry and its relationship to nature. It's hypothesized that they were manipulating form on a molecular level, using sound frequencies to make a more malleable structure. Think back to the images of cymatics I showed earlier and the sound frequencies' effect on water and sand to create intricate patterns. Then imagine it on this more massive scale. And it wasn't just the Egyptians. Many ancient cultures building megalithic structures around the world had a unique understanding of how to manipulate matter. Many of these cultures also appear to have had a devotion towards building temples in reverence to divine energies in nature. Now coming back to the human form. In these diagrams, you can see energy flowing beyond the physical form. It connects with and interacts with the surrounding environment. We can tune into this energy field through practices like meditation, yoga, qigong, and more. I've gained a lot of value in my life from those practices. Shown here is the alignment of energy centers within the body. They can be understood as ways of perceiving metaphysical energy. They are points that connect to non-physical energy. They are transmitters and receivers. We are transmitters and receivers of energy. It has also been my experience that with the use of various plant medicines and mind-altering substances, also known as psychedelics or entheogens, that when taken into the body open up our senses and awareness to more layers of metaphysical reality. Combined with meditation, they can be a powerful tool for self-realization and deeper nature connection. They have been amazing allies in my creative process. They can help inform of a deeper connection to a more holistic and interconnected sense of being with all of life. They can help provide perspective and insight for multidimensional healing. They often come from the earth, and we can sometimes connect with earth consciousness when ingesting them. They've been used by people around the world for thousands of years for these purposes. And it's important to remember that it's always a two-way conversation with the medicine and the person taking it. Now, it's not just the plants or fungi with psychoactive effects that are important. Many plants can be considered as medicine. Poisonous ones can sometimes have elements extracted as medicine. Some can be considered weeds that grow around your yard but have edible and medicinal purposes, like dandelion or mint. Some are herbs and spices with multiple purposes, and some are vegetables that you eat. Isn't it amazing that you can grow your own food and medicine to be more connected to nature and to avoid contaminants from industrial growing? I love to garden, and I highly recommend it. Now I want to come back to this word entheogen. It's an alternative word for psychedelics, and the definition is a chemical substance typically of plant origin that is ingested to produce a non-ordinary state of consciousness for religious or spiritual purposes, or more simply put, to access the divine within. Now, I really resonate with that because I can say that most of my experiences with these substances have been of a very divine and uplifting nature. Something related to that which came across my path of exploration is the strong similarities between deep entheogenic states and near-death experiences. People often experience a deep sense of unity, an all-encompassing love, a state of oneness. It often seems more familiar than this physical reality. I've had that experience many times. I've had several death-like moments where I was then held by pure love and light, then returning to my physical body. So I wonder, perhaps we can have a different perspective around death as something not to fear so much as the next journey of our soul. Entheogens are known to help people become more comfortable with their mortality and connection to spirituality, and studies are being done on their use for assistance with end-of-life therapy. The genre of art that I typically work in is most commonly referred to as visionary art or psychedelic art. It often expresses mystical experiences with luminous energy and interwoven geometric patterns that have an emanating source of internal light. Art is a language, and visionary art often describes feelings and familiarity about energies and spaces we know beyond this earth plane. This painting is by Jonathan Solter, and it's called I've Been There. And the reason it's called that is because he was creating it as a live painting at various festivals one summer, and people would often come up to him and say, "Whoa, I've been there." Yeah, but how is that possible? How do people recognize it when it doesn't really look like anywhere on Earth? That's because they have a shared metaphysical experience expressed here through this artwork. This is one of my first paintings from my visionary art series, before I even knew what that was. It's acrylic on canvas from 2004 entitled My Awakening. It has that title because it's an expression of what I call my awakening experience. Briefly, this is what happened. My first psychedelic painting, Astral Projection, was on the wall next to me and a friend while we were on a high dose of entheogens in an intentional setting. The painting opened up as a portal and we transfigured as particles of light into what might be described as the universal mind lattice. A hyperdimensional space of pure energy where everything was simultaneously interconnected and there was no sense of time. A space full of love and strangely very familiar. A lot happened on that journey, but one thing that stands out, and it seems relevant here, is that when we were coming back into our physical bodies, I was visited by what I would describe as a being made of light. It had a psychic conversation with me, showing another version of myself asleep on another plane of existence. It said they were taking care of me there while I was here having a human experience. It took some time for me to integrate that experience, and I have learned over the years that this kind of experience is not uncommon with entheogens. Maybe not the exact details, but there are some key archetypal aspects. Like what I described earlier about the similarities between near-death experiences and deep entheogenic states. I've also noticed the similarities between the framework of energy in this painting and one of the images I showed earlier, the scientific diagram of energy in space. So I wonder, maybe the hyperdimensional space that I was traveling in, which seemed connected to everything and everywhere all at once, is this mycelial universal mind lattice framework of energy like we see here in the scientific diagram. This also makes me curious about the efficiency of exploring inner space, which seems connected to multidimensional spaces and outer space, and the insight we can gain from those experiences. Comparatively, the process of exploring physical outer space uses massive amounts of fuel and resources to blast off of the Earth's surface. But it's not one or the other, just something to wonder about. Now here are some of my other earliest paintings from my visionary art series. These are oil paintings on canvas. At that time I had a stronger interest in expressing more of the cosmic frequencies, the galactivation of my experiences. These images were understood mostly by people familiar with psychedelics. From that point, I felt inspired to connect with a broader audience, and that's when I got back into painting nature. This is an oil painting from 2005. It's called Spiritual Evolution, and it marks that period in my life. However, I was having difficulty expressing the complexities of metaphysical energy that I was experiencing. A few years later, I discovered digital painting, where I was more able to express those layers. This next one is called Metta Grove. It's a digital painting from 2012. A few years after that, I started adding wildlife. As I said before, we can relate to animals as a bridge to nature because we see ourselves in them. We might have a dream as an animal or feel connected to one that relates to this version of ourself here on Earth, like a spirit animal. Many of us deeply connect to our pets on a spiritual level. I often end up with multiple versions of my artwork because there are too many layers of energy to express in one image, and they are in motion as I imagine them. So to honor that, over several years I've animated most of my artworks. Which brings me to how the main part of this show is performed. This is my video palette. It is VJ software used to do live visuals at music concerts. Like a painter has colors on their palette, here each image square represent videos of my animated art and some effects layers by other artists. It's an accumulation of over 20 years of my work. So what you're about to watch is me doing live video mixing along to the music using various layers and effects to emphasize sonic moments, and then adding some post-production magic for this completed version. Also featured is some of my music and tracks from other artists whose credits appear at the end. And this is me in the creative process. Now, I know some of you are thinking, wait a second, did AI have a role in this? Fair question. This version of my intro presentation was created in 2024, right as AI tools became truly functional. Using my decades of skills in motion graphics, combined with new AI tools, this went from a slideshow of still images to animated sequences. Having worked with digital tools since the mid-1990s, I've long embraced their evolution for efficiency and creative expansion. So while I have many reservations around AI, it also felt natural to be curious and explore the use of it for creating parts of this intro, often using my original art as the foundation. Now it's worth clarifying here that the second half of this show, the meditation concert, was created before the rise of generative AI. Around 99.9% of it. My original creations are still the primary source there without AI. Today, AI tools are both magic and mayhem, a mix of promise and peril. We're in an era where near infinite creative potential sits beside necessary caution. Ultimately, whichever tools are used, I believe that intention guides creation, and that a spirit of forgiveness with creative innocence can help us navigate the unknown as we move forward. Someone told me this poem recently that I resonated with. It goes, "How did the rose bloom? By feeling the warmth of the sun on its petals." I feel like this show and all of my creations are an offering of the sunlight from my heart to your petals, and I hope that you feel inspired. Thank you. And now, for the next segment, I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Jane. She is a therapeutic somatic counselor. For the past 10 years, she's been my loving cheerleader, bringing generous inspiration and insight to my creative projects and life experience. She has some deep metaphysical musings to share with you now.
Hello everybody, my name is Jane Calm, and I am a somatic therapeutic counselor. For anyone who doesn't know what somatic counseling is, I'll give you a brief interpretation. Somatic therapy is the process of paying attention to the sensations of our feelings directly in our bodies. So instead of just talking about how we feel or interpreting or analyzing our feelings, in somatic therapy we do a bit of that, but we also slow our attention down and notice the sensations of our feelings in the body as they are happening, with the goal of developing a direct relationship with them, developing the capacity to talk directly with our feelings, understanding what they're saying to us, understanding where they came from in the moment, and also what happened in our childhoods that created these specific coping strategies, so that now as adults we can learn how to listen and provide for our feelings directly instead of simply trying to fix them. And this direct relationship with my feelings through somatic therapy was a game changer for me. I credit it with what finally cured my 15-year eating disorder. And by cured, I don't mean that I got rid of the painful feelings associated with binging and dieting. They're still there. But I'm now able to connect with these feelings and provide for them in ways that I wasn't before. So I am no longer acting out from them. And in this process of somatic experiencing, what I've noticed is, not only do my clients develop a deeper, more personal relationship with their own feelings, but they also tend to develop a more direct relationship with their own sense of inner guidance. Some clients refer to inner guidance as the universe, some call it God, others refer to specific archetypes or personalities that show up to care for them in their somatic experience, like angels or ancestors. Others simply notice the powerful sensation of love and hear specific guidance and instruction from it. The results are as unique as we are. My clients often report that they always knew this guiding presence was with them, but they didn't know they could speak to it, and they rarely, if ever, paid attention to it on purpose. So that's what I want to chat about: how to develop an active, reciprocal relationship with our own inner guidance. Now, inner guidance is invisible, but it is also relatively tangible because you can sense it. And when communicating with what we can feel and sense, but is also invisible, we need to employ our creative, intuitive capacities, aka our psychic skill set. It's my observation that psychic skills are normal and natural, and everybody has them to differing degrees. Psychic skills are as normal to the human experience as breathing or pooping. Everybody does it. Everybody has natural psychic skills, just the same way that everybody has a physical body. You have a unique physical body that only you can communicate with directly. The same goes for psychic skills. We use our psychic senses to communicate all the time. We refer to them in everyday language when we say things like, I had a sense that person wasn't friendly, or I had an impression, or a gut feeling, or a hunch. These are all ways we normally communicate about our everyday psychic awareness. But we also have something else in common. We are all the product of what I believe is hundreds, maybe even thousands of years of forced disconnection from our natural psychic skill set and communication with inner guidance. In the past, this disconnection was forced upon us by the priest classes or royalty classes. You were ostracized or could be killed for daring to question the spiritual communication of the priest class. The same went for the ruling classes, the royalty. They were God's chosen people, and how dare you consider yourself of equal importance in the eyes of the divine? Nowadays, we don't defer as much to the priest classes or royalty, but we still acquiesce. In today's world, we give away our inner guidance to materialism or scientism or the experts. We are shamed for believing in anything you can't prove on paper. If you can't see it and touch it, it's not real, and you're an idiot for even suggesting otherwise. Even in spiritual communities, we give away our natural psychic knowing to gurus or chosen channelers as though this kind of communication were absolutely out of reach to the rest of us. Now, I am not suggesting we can't learn from teachers or elders or experts. On the contrary, we cannot learn without them. But there is a difference between respectfully learning and submitting. As a result of these hundreds of years of disconnection from what is natural, we have to practice being natural. We have to practice breathing. Have you ever been to a breathing workshop? We have to relearn how to eat naturally. Who's trying to avoid the middle aisles at the grocery store? Anyone? The same goes for our psychic skills. We actually have to practice the development of relational communication with our psychic skill set because we are no longer natural at it. So, I've always been a spiritual seeker. I drove my mostly atheist parents batty as a child, wanting to talk about God and wondering, why don't we go to church more? So I've always felt a sense of guidance, the kind of guidance that eventually led me to seemingly miraculous synchronicities or finding impossible parking spots. The kind of guidance that prompts me to participate in medicine ceremonies and yoga retreats. And all of these spaces and practices are so important and deeply connecting. But I didn't have a normal, consistent relationship with my inner guidance system. And until about 5 years ago, it had never occurred to me that I could have one. And so, about 5 years ago, this is what happened. I was communicating with a friend who is, yes, a psychic. Her name is Bobby Roundtree, and she is incredible. She grew up in a family system where her psychic skills were acknowledged and supported because she comes from a relatively unbroken line of psychics. So her natural senses weren't suppressed the way they are for most people. So she was giving me a reading when all of a sudden I felt extremely irritated and I stopped the reading and I said to her, "Who are you talking to?" And she said, "Well, I'm talking to your guides and my guides." And I said, "Why are you talking to my guides?" And I was speaking to her in this bratty, cynical tone, partially, out of jealousy, but partially out of powerlessness. If these were my guides, why couldn't I talk to them? And she said, "You can." She said, "Anyone can do it. I'm not special. I just have a more developed relationship." She then gave me the advice to look back into my childhood because I might notice my guides have always been there, maybe through a dream or just the presence in a memory. And right when she said this, 2 significant moments from my childhood popped into my mind, and it was shocking because I hadn't considered these moments in this way before. So I didn't say anything to her, but I did ask her for advice on how to develop a relationship with guidance. And she said, well, start by sitting down respectfully and asking to have a conversation with them. And so I did. Many times since then. And through this practice of communicating with my own personal guidance system, I realized something that I honestly wish I'd realized a lot sooner. That developing a relationship with guidance has the same rules as developing a relationship with another person. If you don't put the time in, your relationship is not going to develop. If you want to get to know somebody in your community, you see them around and you're so inspired by them, their energy, what they're up to, they basically guide you in a way. But you never take the time to sit down with them and ask them questions and really listen to their answers. Talking with them back and forth. Well, you're not really going to develop your relationship. You may be still guided and influenced by them, but your relationship will be very limited without consistent listening effort. And so for the last 5 years, I've been putting in the time, on purpose, regularly noticing the sensation of guidance in my body, listening to it, noticing what comes up when I listen, asking questions back and forth. And I'm going to make a disclaimer right now. My disclaimer is that there is a part of me that is skeptical about what I'm telling you right now. I reserve a level of doubt at all times. I call this part of us the inner bullshit detector, and I consider it very important. I'm aware that I could die tomorrow and look back on this moment and realize, a lot of what I'm saying to you right now isn't quite hitting the mark. I can't know for certain. No one can. But I can tell you with absolute certainty, that developing my own conversational relationship with inner guidance has caused me to feel so much more capable, so much less alone, so much more intimately, cellularly loved. I also feel a lot braver. I certainly wouldn't be sharing all of this with you right now without ongoing, intricate encouragement from my guidance system. And so now for the end of my talk, I'm going to give you a little example of how I connect with my guidance system. I'm going to share a short prayer that I wrote to get me in the mood, so to speak. This prayer creates a protective, loving space where I can relax and communicate in safety and trust. I also say this prayer at the beginning of my workday to create an atmosphere of connection for my clients. I say this prayer out loud, and I really want to stress the value of communicating out loud to your guidance system. Praying out loud is a very powerful thing to do. And the reason for that is the nature of the mind. It's very dualistic. If we keep our prayers just in our mind, only thinking them, what happens is we end up with wishy-washy results. When I think in my mind, I really want to communicate with guidance, what will happen is the exact opposite thought will pop up. Something like, this is stupid, nothing's happening, let's go eat some cookies. But speaking out loud, on the other hand, cuts through the dualism because it uses willpower and commitment to speak. And that creates conviction and capacity, and it allows our nervous systems to relax and trust the experience. I also have actions that go with this prayer, because to embody my intentions, well, I find that even more connecting. You can simply watch and listen and let the words land for you however they do. Then after the prayer, I'm going to lead you into a very brief 30-second meditation to connect somatically with your own inner guidance. I'm going to ask you to repeat 3 small sentences out loud and notice the result of saying them in your own body. You can just sit and listen if you like, but that's what I'm up to. And with that, I'll share my prayer. This space is surrounded by the power of true love, guided by the power of true love, protected by the power of true love, and directed by the power of true love. We are safe here in the arms of true love, where all is welcome. I exist beyond the illusion and confusion in the truth, where true love resides and miracles are natural. I am here for you in complete service, and at the same time, absolute autonomy. I commit to seeing you as innocent, safe, sovereign, and free, so we may return to the truth of love and peace. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our benevolent, healed ancestors and true love guardians and guides. We are deeply, deeply listening. So I'm going to ask you to close down your eyes and begin by taking 3 big, purposeful breaths, slower and longer than normal, all the way in and all the way out. And as you're breathing slow and full, turn your inner attention to look down into your animal body, into your inner world, looking all the way down to your hips and sit bones. Noticing how you're sitting down present in your own body when you notice your sit bones. Just noticing. Now I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. I am here now. I am guided. I am deeply listening. Thank you. Thank you.
The next part of this is the meditation concert. You can pause to take a break or a moment to realign yourself for what is to follow. Now, if you're ready, I'd like to briefly assist with an offering of alignment and resonance for this next part. Using our breath and voice, we can open this portal together. We will take 3 deep breaths, and then on the third exhale, we will begin 3 ohms together. Now, breathe in slowly. And exhale. Breathe in. And exhale. Breathe in.
Just for this time, your inner world, exactly as it is now, is all that matters. Just listening. Begin by looking down into the body and taking slow, deep, purposeful breath. Slow, purposeful breath relaxes the nervous system and creates space for deeper listening. Noticing your body from the inside by looking down and traveling down through your body like it was a house that you could wander through, walking down your throat and shoulders and chest and heart, noticing your body from the inside, traveling down each arm, all the way down to the rooms of your hands, just noticing, breathing on purpose, deep, purposeful breath, listening to the natural frequencies of your multi-dimensional self, listening with all of your senses at once. Every cell inhales and exhales, every cell as one. This is how your psychic self listens. What do you hear or notice as you listen? Psychic skills belong to everyone. But how often do we slow down enough to truly listen? Slowing down, we can hear the subtle wisdom of the inner world. This is how nature communicates, through subtle, slow, full body attention, energetic communication. Your body is nature. Your body is made up of organic material that communicates as nature does. Just listening. Listening to the trees with which you breathe. Listening to the water as it flows through every part of you. Listening to your body as a part of the earth spread out in every direction like mycelia. Take this special time to communicate with your inner verse. We are remembering how to communicate as nature does. This time will bring up your natural self for you to notice. Your natural innocence that cannot be diminished. That part of you that is always and always has been connected. That part of you that is connected to love, to nature, and to each other. and to notice the part of you that is always and always has been connected. Connected to love, to nature, and to each other.
be responsible citizens of nature. If we engage nature, enhancing the mycelial networks in the ecosystem to create a healthier and happier future. Time is short. The future can be bright. It is our responsibility to make a decision about our own destiny. We must all join together in this effort. This is our time to listen to nature, the wisdom of nature. Nature has been listening to us. The wisdom of nature. Are you listening? Responsible citizens of nature. Are you listening?
The light and love of divine healing floods into you now. Harmony and wholeness this inner wisdom.
Oh, align with the highest frequency.
Divinity has taken course. And so it is.
so many would pursue in favor of their honor. She provided just one clue. Rise up from the ashes, you decide which way to go, either up, down, sideways. Then you'll need to know you will rise like a flame. Rise, live again. You will rise like a flame. Rise, live again. You will rise like a flame. Rise, live again. You will rise like a flame. Rise, live again. Live again. You will live again. If you're searching for the answer to the riddle here on earth, the riddle's gone unanswered from the moment of its birth. In this moment, all the earth stands still. Time unwinds its coil. Life is filled to the brim.